Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second session of the iBug Mac training course. Today is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, and I am your instructor, Chanel Allen. We will be getting started pretty soon with the lesson. Since this is part of iBug Today, I'd like to just tell you a few things we have coming up this week. Tomorrow, in Clubhouse, we have the iBug Mac Buzz. This is ran by your TA, Herbie Allen. It is from 5 to 7 p.m. Central. And so all you need to do is go to Clubhouse, find the iBug Today Club, and join or follow that club, and you will be notified of that event. And I can try to invite some of you in as well if I know that you're on Clubhouse. And then after that, we have the iBug Android Insight. That is always the third Wednesday of every month. It is ran by Ava Caruth, and it is for anyone with Android devices, or even those Lady A's and the devices that runs on. So any Android OS or Android operated devices, whatever, questions about any and all of those things are welcome. Then on Thursday, we have Trekkie Talk, where people meet to discuss some episodes of Star Trek. I think they're in, I forget what they're in. But they watch them ahead of time. And if you want info about Trekkie Talk, I recommend going to our iBug Today website. Then on Friday, we have the virtual movie night, iBug Night at the Virtual Movies. The movie's at 8 o'clock with a discussion beforehand at 7:30. I think this week they're watching a movie called Marriage Story. And then after the movie is a little bit of discussion. And that is pretty much it for this week. We also have our iBug Buzz that's every Monday from 7:30 to 9:30. Don't forget to check out our website, ibugtoday.org, our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/ibugtoday, or our Twitter, where if you're at all curious about the iBug event, or not the iBug event, the Apple event, Herbie will have posted some great information. And now I'd like to move into the actual class, and I will allow you to unmute, and I'm going to just ask some questions from the focus questions that I sent out. Anyone is welcome to answer. I'm not going to call on anybody in particular. I'm not picking on anyone. So why don't we begin with a few of these questions. So the very first one, hopefully everyone knows this. How do you toggle? Oh, yes. And then wait, just say your name and then wait for me to acknowledge you and then just give the answer. So our question number one, how do you toggle VoiceOver on and off?
Donna.
Yes, Donna.
So it's Command F5.
Yep.
Or if you're on a MacBook Air, it is Command and then you hold down the power button and you press it 3 times.
That is correct. Awesome. Yeah, on any Mac with a touch bar. And some of the MacBook Pros have it as well. So yes, awesome. Okay, anyone who wants to tell me what is keyboard help and how do you enable it?
Elvia?
Elvia.
Keyboard help is a way so you can know when you press any key on the keyboard, what it does.
Excellent.
And the way to enable it is by pressing the modifier keys of either the lock key as a modifier or the VO plus the letter K, or the modifier locks key with the K. And to get out of there, you press escape. That's what I remember.
Yes, and so in the modifier keys are, like you said, either caps lock or control and option. All right, so here's a question I thought of later after the fact, but hopefully you should know this one. True or false, you can learn Mac commands with keyboard help?
True. Elvia, sorry.
Okay. Elvia. Yeah, just next. Well,
Judy?
notice Judy.
False.
Yeah. So why do you think it's false?
Because the help is only devoted to VO commands.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah. All right. And if anybody wants an
I'm
updated
confused.
copy,
Can you explain that one to me? I thought
sure.
the keyboard, was it at the VOK? That was the
Yeah.
keyboard help?
Yeah, so that's only for learning voiceover commands like
Oh,
but there's Mac commands like new and print and open and save, and the voiceover keyboard help doesn't cover those. Voiceover keyboard help only can tell you what voiceover commands do.
okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, I guess I already answered this one. What are the VO keys? So, okay, what is one way to access the VoiceOver Quick Start tutorial?
Elvia,
Yes, Elvia.
I think it's the VO, one of the ways is VO command and the F8 key.
Very good. Yes. Or going through the VoiceOver Help menu. Excellent. Okay, who can tell me what are the three main areas of the Mac screen?
Donna.
Donna? Yep. Did I hear
So
Donna?
yes.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
the menu bar, which is at the top, and then the
Mhm.
desktop is in the middle.
Yep.
And the dock is at the bottom.
Very good. Excellent. All right. So let's see. Where is the desktop located and what items might you find there?
Elvia?
Okay, Elvia, go ahead.
Well, Donna just said the desktop is located in the middle. And what you find there are files and I don't know for sure, but like maybe drives. Like you
Yeah.
have drives and stuff, I think there.
Excellent. Yep. It's a great place to launch drives if those icons are showing on the desktop. It's often used as a dumping ground for files, which isn't always a good idea, but yes, sometimes you will find files there. Okay, so I know Daryl was talking about being interested in the trackpad. What is the trackpad commander? Does anyone want to answer that? Or can you at least tell me how do you enable the trackpad commander?
Donna.
Michelle,
Oh, Michelle, go ahead.
I think you do it with the rotor. You use
Yeah.
your rotor just like you would on the phone. And I actually didn't get a chance to practice that, so I might be wrong, but I'm assuming that when you use that gesture, it'll say trackpad commander on.
Very good. Yes, you put two fingers on the trackpad at the same time you're holding down your VO modifier. And so you hold down the VO modifier, use the rotor, and yep, it turns on. Excellent. Okay. What gestures can you perform on the Mac trackpad that you can also perform on the touch screen of an iDevice?
Elvia,
Elvia, go ahead.
you could do a double tap
Uh-huh.
to accept it. A one finger double tap.
Yep.
You could do I don't remember if it's a 3 finger or a 2 finger, but you could do it a double tap with 1 finger, 2 fingers or 3. I think it's 3 to turn off to mute the speech.
Excellent. Yep, it's 3.
And then a 3 finger triple tap to do a screen curtain to make the screen dark.
Yep.
And I believe also you could flick to the left and flick to the right. And you could do a 2 finger swipe down to read from the voiceover position downward.
Excellent. Very good.
That's all I can remember right at the moment.
All right. No, that's perfect. Okay. So using the trackpad, how do you navigate to the menu bar?
Dock right.
Dock, yes.
Do a 2-finger double tap at the top of the trackpad.
Excellent. Very good. And using the trackpad, how do you navigate to the dock?
The
Donna?
same.
Yeah. Donna, go ahead.
A 2-finger double tap at the bottom.
Very good. Okay. Let's see. Does anyone remember what voiceover command is used to navigate to the menu bar? So we're switching from the trackpad to the keyboard. What voiceover command is used to navigate to the menu bar?
Elvia?
Sarah?
Sarah.
Sarah, okay.
VOM.
VOM, excellent. Okay, and what keyboard command takes you to the dock?
Michelle,
Michelle, go ahead.
VOD.
Excellent, very good. And okay, I think so. Then some of the rest of these we were going to cover. I didn't quite get a chance to talk about last time. So we will go ahead and do that now. Let me just put my Braille display up. Does anybody have any questions about those questions?
One quick statement.
Sure.
Just for future help. That's the same VOK that we will use for the keyboard. You can use that help for the trackpad as well.
Yes, excellent. And that's what we did. We use that to learn or do those commands. So very good. All right. So now I'm going to share and
You have started computer.
all right.
Currently on a button. To click this
Herbie,
button,
if you are not
press
off,
Control
if you can tell me if you can hear the audio or let me know,
You're
that
good.
would be okay. All right. All right. So we ended by talking about navigating to the menu bar. Last time I demonstrated that we can use the keyboard keys by themselves, basically left and right to move from menu bar category to menu bar category, down arrow to open the menus. Right arrow can even be used to open submenus, left arrow to close submenus. You can also use VO and the arrow keys, or if you know the name of the item you want to go to, you can use first letter navigation. And those same principles apply in the dock. So let's go there with VOD.
Dock. System preferences, 4 of 29.
Okay, mine says system preferences. That's the last thing it was on.
System preferences, 4 of 29. Actions available. You are currently on an application dock item. To open this application, press Control, Option, Space. To show expose, press Control, Option, Command, Space first to bring up the action menu.
Okay, I thought for a minute I'd turned off the voiceover hints, which I will be turning those off, but not just quite yet. So system preferences is 4 of 29. We can move from app to app. We can go back with the left arrow.
Safari, 3 of 29.
And again
Actions
with the left
available.
arrow.
Audio hijack, 2 of 29.
I have placed
Actions.
some things on my dock. We can go forward by app with the right arrow.
Safari, 3 of 29. System preferences, 4 of 29. Messages, 28 new items.
Oh, wow. Okay. I could jump directly to an item with using first letter navigation. So let's say I wanted to open Safari.
Safari, 3 of 29.
Okay, so I
Actions
could do
available.
that. I just pressed the letter S. Then I could press enter to
Zoom
open
us.
it.
System dialog. Safari, start page.
Now I could go back to my
Window.
dock with VOD.
Dock.
And then let's say I wanted to go to system preferences. Well, I could do that. I could type S. But as I type S, I am not hearing anything. That's because system preferences is to the left of Safari, or even if it wasn't, even if for example, in Windows, you can actually just continually type the first letter of an app in order to get to it, or a file or folder. On the Mac, you actually have to spell out that app. So I'm looking for system preferences. So I would actually type SY.
Safari, open, 3 of 29. System preferences, 4 of
and then
29.
press enter.
Safari, system preference.
Okay, last time I did not talk about the dock layout. You basically have apps on the left, then to the right, the apps are kind of broken down. So you have apps that are just common to the dock, which are apps you might use often on the Mac. And then you also have apps that you've opened recently on your Mac, but that have not been added to the dock. To the far right are a couple of folders, the trash and the downloads. If I just use my left arrow and right arrow, actually I'm going to press VOD to go to my dock.
Dock. System.
And now I'm just going to press right arrow. We're not going to stop and hear every app, but I'm just going to keep pressing it. And as I press it, you'll notice we just hear names of apps and folders.
Messages, 28 new items. Mail, 6 of 29. Photos, 7 of. FaceTime, 8 of 29. Calendar, 9 of. Contacts, 10 of. Reminders, 11 of 29. Notes, 12 of 20. Music.
And we're going to keep
podcast,
going.
News, keynotes, numbers, pages, App Store, 19. TV, Zoom Us, open, text edit, 22 of 20. Voiceover, Amadeus Pro, audio MIDI setup, 20. Amadeus.
So Amadeus
Voiceover.
Pro, the Voiceover Utility, those apps have not been
audio
added
MIDI
to
set,
my
downloads,
dock.
trash, downloads,
Oh.
28 of 29.
And now we see the downloads folder
Trash, 29
and the
of
trash
29.
folder. If now I'm going to hold down my VO keys. I'm going to go to the first item in my dock,
Finder,
first
open.
of all. And now I'm going to hold down my VO keys, and I'm going to press VO right. So I'm holding down
Audio,
caps lock.
Safari, system, message, mail, photos, FaceTime, calendar, contact, remind, notes, music, podcast, news, keynote, numbers, pages, App Store, TV, Zoom Us, text edit, separator. You are
And
currently on a
VoiceOver announces a
text
separator.
separator. You are currently on a separator. To open this item, press Control, Option, Space.
Okay. I mentioned last week, just as a side note, that hints sometimes are really not that helpful. Well, you can't really do anything with a separator. So that's some useless info. But if we VO right,
Voiceover Utility, 24 of 29.
so these are apps that I've recently opened that are not part of the dock.
Amadeus Pro, 25. Audio MIDI setup, 26 of separator. You
And
are
here we
currently
have
on a
another separator.
Downloads to trash, 29 of trash, 29 of
And
29.
we reach the end and we hear a little bit of a thunk sound. Because I was using the VO keys with the left and right arrow, we were able to get more information than we did just by using the arrows by themselves. So sometimes holding down the VoiceOver modifier not only gives you a little bit more information, but gives you definite boundaries, like a starting and an ending thunk,
Trash.
unless you turn on cursor wrapping. So if you if you don't like things wrapping around, or if you just want to know where something is in relation to something else, holding down your VO keys might be a good option. Otherwise, using the arrow keys, if you're just trying to move through something really quickly, then using the arrows by themselves, or even better yet, first letter navigation, will also work. Another thing you can do with items on the dock is rearrange them. So one thing you could do, let's
Trash,
say,
29 of
okay,
29.
I'm at the end of my dock, so I'm just going to right arrow,
Finder, open.
and I'm back at Finder. If let's say,
Audio Safari, open. 3 of 20.
I want to move Safari. Maybe I don't want it at the beginning of my dock. I could press it Option
Safari,
right arrow
open. 3 of Safari, move to the right of System Preferences.
to move Safari forward,
Safari, move to the right of Messages.
or left arrow to move an app back.
Safari, move to the left of Messages.
And you could do this on any app that, so you could do first letter navigation or arrow to an app, and then use Option and left or right to move that app around in your dock.
Messages.
You can also, let's say I wanted to remove messages from my dock, I can use the context menu command, which is VO-Shift-M. The context menu command basically allows you to do what sighted people would call a right click. So it has those things that only pertain to maybe one item or a group of items. And we'll be using the context menu quite a bit more, especially in Finder and Safari. But in the dock, if we do VO-Shift-M,
Menu, 3 items.
We can down arrow.
Options submenu.
And
You are
one of the
currently on a
items is
menu item
options
to show recents.
or show
You are open.
recents or
You are
open.
show options.
So if in options, I could right arrow.
Options submenu 3 items removed from dock.
I could
You are
remove
currently-
it from the dock. If I'm on an app that I haven't added to my dock, but that's currently open, it might say keep in dock. So that's
System
just a couple of things you can do with the dock. Now I would like to move on. I'm going to get back to my desktop just for good form, and that's with VO Shift D.
Desktop group. Actions
And
available.
I am now going to go to menu extras. I mentioned that we have the menu bar, and part of the menu bar is menu extras. I don't really think of it as part of the menu bar because you have to use a different command to access the menu extras. And so I'll do that now. VOMM. So we're talking about a lot of different M commands today. Sometimes, it might just be nice if you wanted to practice,
List one item
and practice
Zoom
on your
meetings,
own doing
folder.
VOM, VO Shift M, VOMM, just to kind of get an idea of what they do. So here we go, VOMM.
Menu extras. Zoom us. Menu extra. You are currently
Okay.
on a menu.
I'm going to go to the first menu extra with VO Home. VO Home will always take you to, I think, what's called the visible beginning or the first item. And so you'll press VO Home if you have Home on an external keyboard. Otherwise, it's VOFN left arrow.
Zoom us. Menu extra.
Oh, I guess that was the first thing. I was used to seeing my Dropbox first. So many apps place info in the menu extras. If I VO right. So anyway, the menu extras, there is in the menu bar and dock, you can just use the arrow keys by themselves. In menu extras, you do actually need to use your voiceover modifier and the arrows to navigate. So VO right and VO left. Everywhere else, you can use left and right, but here you do have to use the VO keys.
Dropbox 130.4.4978 up to date. Menu extra.
Okay, my Dropbox is up to date. Other apps that might place info in the menu extras, you saw or we heard Zoom. There's also the Time Machine. I have a 1Password app. So lots of apps will place info in menu extras.
Do not disturb. Menu extra.
Okay, we have Do Not Disturb. Note that it doesn't tell me whether that is selected or not, but there is a way to know.
Text input menu agent. Menu extra.
Okay,
You are
that has to
currently
do
on-
with keyboards. I'm not sure why I have it in my menu extras. You can actually go into system preferences, and later on, maybe we'll go into that, and you can customize what shows in your menu extras or your control center.
Battery 100%. Charging on hold. Menu extra.
Okay, lately mine has said charging on hold. I think that's probably because the battery optimization is enabled.
Wi-Fi connected. 3 bars. Menu extra.
All right, we have
You are currently
Wi-Fi,
on
and we'll go look at that in a minute.
Battery.
Oh, I keep forgetting to let you
100%.
hear the
Charging
hints.
on hold. Wi-Fi connected. 3 bars. Menu extra. You are currently on a menu extra. To open this menu, press Control Option Space.
Okay, there we go. So that's just the usual hint there.
Search menu extra.
Search
current-
you can get to also with Command Space.
Control Center menu extra.
And then we
You
have
are
the
currently
Control
on a menu
Center.
Siri menu extra.
Siri.
Tuesday, September 14th, 7:25 p.m. Tuesday,
And then the time. So I'm going to
Clock,
now
menu
VO
extra.
left back to Wi-Fi
Siri, control search Wi-Fi battery Wi-Fi connected 3 bars.
and VO space.
Application Control Center System Dialog Wi-Fi checked checkbox.
Okay, here we have an actual checkbox. If I unchecked it, that would turn Wi-Fi off, so I don't want to do that.
Heading Personal Hotspot.
And
You
for
are
some
currently on-
reason, it shows my personal hotspot right here. That, I don't know why it does that. And notice it said heading. Just a sneak preview of when we get to Safari, I could press VO Command H, and that would jump to my next heading. You can do that in lots of places, not just Safari. So that's a little bit of useful info. So I'll just VO right, though.
Chanel's iPhone Heading, preferred networks.
And here I have preferred networks. If I VO right,
Fuzzy Logic 5G, secure network, 3 bars, selected, toggle button.
that actually tells me what network I'm connected to. It says selected.
Fuzzy Logic 2.4, secure other networks, collapsed, disclosed.
If I want to see what other networks are available, I can press VO space.
Expanded.
Okay, I'm going to press escape.
Finder.
But in case you're ever wondering how
Zoom
you
meetings.
check on your Wi-Fi and how you get out of or make sure you're connected to the right network, that's where you would go. You could also go to the control center. I'm just going to close this. Well, I'll leave it open for now. Okay. Anyway, the control center is new in macOS Big Sur, and you heard it mentioned when we were in menu extras. Now, though, we have a command that we can use to get to the control center directly. Rather than having to go through menu extras, we can just press VO Shift O. And I will do that, VO Shift O.
Application, control center, system dialog. Music app, Wi-Fi, selected, toggle button.
I don't know
Music app.
why it says
Actions available.
music app when I don't even have any music playing, but whatever, that's the quirkiness of VoiceOver. There is a command that is going to be really important in both the control center and notification center, which we probably won't get into this time. And that's the VoiceOver actions, which is VO command space. If we VO right,
Do not disturb, selected, toggle button. Actions available. You are currently on a toggle button. To select or deselect this checkbox, press Control, Option, Space. To show details, press Control, Option, Command, Space first to bring up the action menu.
Okay, so to show details, press Command Option or Command VO space to bring up the action menu. And I'm going to demonstrate this on Bluetooth.
Bluetooth, selected, toggle button.
First of all,
Actions
we'll just see what else is in here. So if I VO right,
AirDrop, selected, toggle button. Actions available.
and here actually, so in
You are-
addition to the menu extras in the control center, it is useful to use VO right and left as well.
Keyboard brightness button. Screen mirroring, toggle button, 75%. Display brightness slider.
Okay, now why my display brightness is at 75%, I have no idea. I should make sure my auto brightness is not set, whatever. But we can fix that now. And that is interacting in the slider. Interacting is basically a way of exploring an item or customizing an item in further detail. And one of those few things that we actually have to interact with are sliders. And to do that, I will press VO Shift down arrow.
In slider.
And then I can use VO left or VO up. And sometimes if I forget which arrow to press, I just press them. And if I'm going in the wrong direction, I'll press the opposite arrow. So anyway, if I use VO left,
70%, 50,
I'm going to,
45%.
I could also do VO up.
50, 65%,
It doesn't
70,
matter.
70, 80%.
Oh,
70,
I'm sorry.
60, 55,
VO
50,
down.
40, 40
Okay.
35, 30%.
So VO down to decrease. All right.
25, 20%, 15%, 10%, 5%.
We'll take it to 5%, and I need to actually fix and make sure it stays there. But I'm done interacting, so I can VO Shift up
Out
arrow,
of slider.
and then we can go on our merry little way. So the advantage with interacting or having to interact is that you can totally bypass something if you really don't want anything to do with it. You know, we'll go into apps that have toolbars, and sometimes you have to tab or VO arrow through. If we didn't have interaction, we'd have to tab or VO arrow through all these other things to get to what we actually want. So the nice thing about interacting is it takes away a little bit of those extra steps. If I VO right
100%. Sound volume slider.
now, okay, my sound volume is at 100%. This is one way to adjust the sound. You can also, well, I'll talk about some other ways in a little bit.
100%. Sound AirPlay audio toggle button. Music app. Play button.
You
Actions
can
available.
AirPlay audio. You can control your music playback here in the control center. So it's very much like the control center in iOS.
Next dimmed. Next dimmed.
Okay, I'm going to do VO home.
Wi-Fi selected.
And we are actually going to go into Bluetooth real quick.
Do not
so if I
disturb.
VO right,
Bluetooth selected. Toggle button.
Okay, if I VO space, it would turn Bluetooth off, which would not be good since I'm using my external keyboard. If I want to then view the details, as the hint said earlier, I actually need to press VO Command space. And it's more ergonomic, for me at least, in this instance, to press Control Option Command space. So there are times where I use Control Option, and most of the time I use caps lock.
Actions menu 2 items.
And if I down arrow,
Show details.
I can show details. I'll press Enter.
Verticals Bluetooth checked checkbox.
Bluetooth
Actions
is
available.
checked, so I could turn it off here as well by pressing VO space. VO space checks and unchecks checkboxes, expands things, activates things. So VO space is one of those universal things. Much of the time I just get away with pressing space or enter, but it is still good to use and know about VO space. Okay, so now I will VO right.
Heading devices.
And
You
we
are
have
currently on
devices.
a Magic Keyboard with numeric keypad, 84% selected toggle button.
So here's one way you can actually find out the battery of whatever Bluetooth device is connected to your Mac. I know it does this for keyboards. I don't know about other things, but it's selected, so I know my keyboard is connected.
Chanel's AirPods number 2 toggle. Chanel's AirPods Pro toggle button.
If I wanted to connect to my AirPods Pro, I would press VO space and the Mac would look for those.
Chanel's iPhone Magic Keyboard with numeric Orbit Reader 24 Bluetooth preferences button.
And then
Actions
I have
available.
Bluetooth preferences. If I want to pair a device to my Mac that I have never paired to it, or I don't know, maybe I told my Mac to forget a device or something, I would actually need to go into Bluetooth preferences to pair it. So that's a little bit of extra something about Bluetooth. And it actually is easier probably to get to Bluetooth preferences directly by going to System Preferences, or even just telling Siri to open Bluetooth preferences. But anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea of what is in the Control Center.
Finder Zoom meetings.
Okay, now we are back at the
Zoom
desktop,
meetings.
VO Shift D.
Desktop group.
And now let's talk about adjusting the VoiceOver speech attributes. I mentioned, or rather in keyboard help, we went and pressed Command and a 2-finger twist to the right on the trackpad. That actually adjusts volume. And hopefully I actually remember that's for volume. So I always have to look that up every year, but maybe if I remember Command, when you speak in a commanding voice, you're speaking louder. And so, yeah, that has to do with volume. How or why, I don't know. But Option is for pitch and Control is for rate. If you're wanting to use the keyboard, though, it's a bit of what I like to call a fingerful, a convoluted fingerful. You hold down your VO, Command, and Shift keys in the left hand, and then press the left or right arrow. Either one will actually work because the speech attributes rotor loops around, and so you can use left or right to move from category to category, or what VoiceOver would call attribute, and then the up and down arrows to actually make the changes within those attributes. Another thing, if it's hard to hold down all those keys, there is something called Control Option Lock, which you can toggle on with VO semicolon. So with caps lock semicolon or Control Option semicolon. I'll do that now because I do have a hard time pressing down 4 or 5 keys in my left hand. So here we go.
Control Option lock on.
And then all I need to do is hold down Command and Shift, and then I can press right arrow.
Voice Ava English.
And the first thing I get to is the last thing that I ended up with in the utilities, or this rotor, whatever it's called, the speech attributes rotor. There are a ton of rotors in VoiceOver. The speech attributes rotor is just one of them. So if I want to now see what voices are available to me, I could press up arrow.
Allison Compact English. Allison English.
These are just voices that have either were downloaded on my computer in another user account or just came by default. When we go in the VoiceOver utility, I will tell you how you can download and remove available voices. So, and you can hear samples of those.
Alex Compact English.
Okay.
English.
Automatically select
So the
based on
Mac
language.
has some really weird voices. I don't recommend automatically select based on language. You could be on a website in Safari that's in English, and then you go to some other website, and maybe part of that website is in a different language. Well, if your voiceover is set to automatically select based on language, that voiceover will switch to finding a voice in the language that the web page is coded in, or that part of the web page. So I don't recommend using this unless you're actually trying to study a language. Now, I am still holding down the Command and Shift keys, by the way, in my left hand. If I was to let up on these, it would exit. So I'll just let you hear a few of the other
Agnes
voices
English.
that are available.
Alex Compact.
Alison English. Alison Compact English.
Ava, English. Ava Compact English.
Okay, the compact voices. Okay, so some of these have been around on the Mac apparently for a really long time, and I've never actually had them come up before in
Bruce English.
So
Daniel Compact English.
you actually do have other voices, the same voices that you would find on iOS.
Fiona English. Fiona Compact.
Fred English.
Junior English.
Okay, so anyway, all I'm doing is holding down these keys and then pressing down arrow. I'm going to go back up to Ava, and you can look at these other voices at
Fiona.
your own time.
Bruce.
Ava Compact Ava, English.
Okay, and now let's move to the next category. Again, I could use left or right arrow. I'm just going to press right arrow out of habit.
Rate 45%.
And here we have the rate. So we can press up arrow to increase the rate, still holding down the Command and Shift or VO Command Shift, depending on whether you have the Control Option lock on. So if I press up arrow,
50%. 55%. 60%. 65%.
okay, so then the rate gets faster. I'll take it back down to 45.
60%. 55. 50%. 45%.
And then if we press the right arrow, still holding down Command and Shift,
Pitch 55.
you have pitch
Volume 85%.
or volume. And you can adjust the voiceover volume independently of the Mac volume. Although I've never found a way to actually get the voiceover volume to be louder than my system volume. So again, in here, up arrow would increase the volume, down arrow would decrease.
Intonation 50%.
And then you also have intonation. That's the amount of expression voiceover uses, particularly when reading punctuation or pronouncing sentences with punctuation, like exclamations and question marks and whatever. All right, that, and if we do Command Shift right arrow again,
Braille table, English, unified system.
the Mac does support Braille displays.
Voice, Ava, English.
And now we're back to voice. So I'm going to lift up on these keys.
Closing, Chanel alias,
And
alias.
then I'm going to turn my Control Option lock off. Back, yeah, I had it on. I'm going to turn it off with VO semicolon.
Control Option lock off.
The other day I was, practicing, trying to prepare for this, and I had to stop and totally forgot that I'd left that Control Option lock on. VoiceOver was not behaving in the way I wanted. I tried to turn it off. I couldn't turn it off. Fine. I don't know how I eventually figured out I'd left that darn thing on. So if you leave it on, your Mac won't quite work in the way you would expect. So that is adjusting the VoiceOver speech. Now I'd like to move on to actually getting help for using, that's right. So one way to adjust the system volume is the function keys, which we will get to when we talk about the keyboard and particularly customizing the behavior of function keys. Basically, you can use F11 or F12 to decrease or increase the volume, or F11 with the FN key with F11 and F12, depending on, again, how you customize the behavior of your function keys. Or you can use VO and the dash to decrease your system volume. or VO and the equal sign to increase it. And I don't know why VoiceOver is not announcing what the system volume is being increased to. I thought it did earlier, but anyway,
ACB.
that's okay. So let's now move on to going through VoiceOver Help in more detail. Again, I am sorry that the tutorial didn't quite work out. Next time I will be sure to double check that. It always seems like with every Mac OS, there are some things that just don't quite work right. The tutorial has been one of those iffy things. So I haven't always assigned it, but anyway, let's go into the VoiceOver Help menu with VOH.
VoiceOver Help menu 5 items.
And I'll just explain a few of these categories. If I down arrow.
User guide control option ?
We have the user guide. I will send you, and I'll actually try to send it out after this class or shortly this week, a list that I've compiled with links to keyboard commands and the VoiceOver user guide. I recommend if you want to read the VoiceOver user guide, try doing it on another device. It is a little bit tricky to navigate on the Mac, or at least have it open in Safari on the Mac, if in the least, and not in the way that it will open in the Mac Help Viewer. Because I don't know, sometimes the navigation, it's not the easiest to navigate. So it's better to try to view on another device or in Safari. This will open up in a Mac Help Viewer, which sometimes I found if I've pressed the arrow keys, it's moved from section to section rather than staying in the same section. So anyway, that's the user guide. If I down arrow.
Commands Help menu control option HH.
We are going to go into Commands Help in a little bit.
Keyboard Help control option K.
We spent a lot of time in Keyboard Help. If I down arrow.
Sound Help menu.
We have Sound Help, and I'll just press right arrow.
Sound Help menu 75 items.
Basically, you can hear the sounds that VoiceOver makes corresponding to different types of alerts.
Actions available. Animation shaking. Animation shaking.
Oops.
Announcement basic alert. Application updated an item.
And so if you're ever curious about what sort of sound VoiceOver is making, you might find that information here. All right, I'm going to press left arrow.
VoiceOver Help menu on Sound Help menu.
And the last item
was
the tutorial. So now I'm going to arrow back up to Commands Help.
Sound Keyboard Help Commands Help menu control
and
option
right
HA.
arrow.
Commands Help menu 14 items. You are currently.
I have 14 items here. There were 15. You may have anywhere from 14 to 16 or 17, depending on whether your trackpad commander is on, or if your keyboard commander is on. That will also show. So every category in here is basically pertaining to VoiceOver commands. So the Commands Help is great just to kind of see what you can do as a VoiceOver user, to find out the ways you can navigate. It's also useful for searching for a command. If you want to, let's say, if you forget the command to go to the control center. But let's just arrow down so you can see the categories that are here.
General menu, information menu, navigation menu, text menu, web menu, find menu, tables menu, size and position menu, audio menu, Braille menu, visuals menu, speech menu.
Okay, so for instance, if we wanted to go into speech, we could right arrow.
Speech menu 10 items. Decrease intonation, decrease pitch, decrease rate.
And so basically you could come into Commands Help to do some of the same things that we just did, holding down all those keys.
Commands Help menu.
Some of these don't have keyboard commands, so maybe that's not the best example to show. But if I go back into General.
Tables, find, web, text, navigate, information, General menu. General menu 79 items. Actions control option command space.
All right, so we just did actions earlier.
Add pronunciation. Bring window to front control option FN at. Click mouse control option shift.
All right, so there's a lot of these that may not make a whole lot of sense right now. I found when I was trying to learn the Mac, I'd go in here looking for one command, and then I'd find things that were totally either completely unrelated or only tangentially related or whatever. So I learned a whole bunch of things just by going through commands help to find what I was looking for in the first place. I don't know if I learned right away that I could actually just type in a command. So let's say
Voiceover help commands help.
So I'm holding down the VO keys and typing H twice to bring up commands help. So let's say I forgot how to go to the control center. So I could just simply type it in.
129 items. Find next control option command J.
Oh, sorry, I didn't let you hear how it narrowed things down. So if I down arrow.
Find previous control next content. Open control center control option shift O.
And then I press enter. That we not only searched for a command, but then rather than having to press those keys, we can just press enter.
Application, control center.
And that brings up the control center right away.
System dialog.
Sometimes it might be useful to go into commands help and then escape and then try the sequence of keys just to get the finger memory. But if if you just want to get to something, open it quickly, or it's hard to reach on the keyboard, going into commands help is a good option, especially for something like increasing or decreasing the speech rate. You can also use Keyboard Commander to create your own commands, or as Donna was trying to do, she was trying to get the commands that were already available, like for hearing the time, to work. So let's say I have not searched for this. Let's just try this. If I do VOH,
Voice commands help menu 14.
And I type keyboard or try to start typing keyboard. So if I type K.
44 items. Always allow keyboard commands to navigate.
E.
16 items. Keyboard help control option K.
Okay, so we narrowed it down from 44 to 16. If I type Y.
8 items. Keyboard help control option K.
Okay, so the more letters you type, the more results will be narrowed down.
Always allow keyboard commands to navigate websites. Describe item with keyboard focus. Ignore next key. Press control option tab. Move keyboard focus to move voiceover cursor to toggle keyboard commander on or off control option shift K.
All right, so here is what Donna was looking for. Toggle keyboard commander on and off. So there you go. I've given you a hint in terms of figuring out what you need to do to make your right option T work. That's part of what's called keyboard commander. And so you can, if you turn on keyboard commander, then you should have more success with using right option T. Okay, I'm going to press escape to get out of the menu.
Zoom meetings folder.
All right, and I'm just checking. So actually, I would like to take time now
Safari.
to ask if I can get back into
System
Zoom.
Finder. Zoom us.
There we
Zoom
go.
us.
I would like to see
Mute all.
if anybody
Checked. Allow
has
participants to unmute.
questions.
Now in.
So
Mute all. Current and
we
new
still have more of a
participants.
lesson to
Allow
do. I just want to, let me stop the audio share. There we go. Just want to make sure, see if anyone has questions.
Donna.
Yeah, Donna.
So I'm sorry, what was the toggle for turning on the keyboard commander?
Well, I encourage you to go to VoiceOver Commands Help and look that up, and it will tell you. If you can't find it after that, then by all means, I'll be happy to give you the answer. But part of me teaching the class is, helping you to be able to come up with your answer. So if you're just totally frustrated and you feel like throwing the Mac out the window, then I will give you the answer. But if you do feel like trying to find it, I've given you kind of a step in the right direction.
Okay.
All right. Excellent.
Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff, go ahead.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Even though you or Herbie didn't say hi to me when I came in here, my feelings are not hurt.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, I had to turn off my alerts to make sure those weren't coming up in the share. So, because I'm doing live today.
I would expect that from Herbie, not from you. But anyway, I just wanted to point out that there was a Big Sur update that is a security patch that I would recommend anybody that is on Big Sur install.
Excellent. Very good. Yep. I did get that yesterday in preparation. So yes, thank you very much. Our friend Brad sent that to me. So very good. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions?
Elvia?
Elvia, yes.
Okay, since Cliff brought it up, how are you going to teach us how to do updates?
I would be happy to. I'll do that. We're actually going to go into system preferences. And I was going to have us do that. So why don't we go to system preferences? I was going to show people how to customize the behavior of function keys, but we will do software updates along the way. So let me just do that. Okay. Oh, no, we don't want to say, okay, hold on.
You have started computer audio share button.
There we go. Okay, so we do have system preferences open. There's a couple of ways to navigate around system preferences, but since we were just in the dock earlier, let's go there now with VOD
Dock.
and then
Message
SY.
system preferences open.
And one really neat thing you can do is the context menu. Remember I mentioned that earlier, that's VO Shift M. And I mentioned the context menu is specific to an item. Well, we are going to find out what VO Shift M does on system preferences.
Menu, 40 items.
And if I down arrow.
Check mark, system preferences.
And again.
Accessibility.
What we're seeing here are the categories of system preferences. So if you don't feel like dealing with the system preferences, going through that little area, going past the toolbar, going into, looking at the different categories, which I still recommend you know how to do, but you could just down arrow through
Apple
here.
ID, battery, Bluetooth, date and time, desktop and
or I can use my first letter navigations. I could do SOF.
Check software update.
And press
you are currently
enter.
on a menu item. 2. System preferences, loading software update, window, toolbar.
And next time there is a Mac update, I should just let you hear the process of updating. But it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm in software update. If I VO right.
Software update.
And again.
You are currently on an image. Software update, image. Your Mac is up to date. Mac OS Big Sur 11.6. You are currently.
If my Mac was not up to date, there would be an update button. One thing you really should check, though.
Last checked today at 7:53 p.m.
Okay.
Software update. Automatically keep my Mac up to date. Checked checkbox.
Automatically keep my Mac up to date. If you have that checked, you will be good to go. So just make sure automatically keep my Mac up to date is checked. And there's a few other things you can customize for that. I wouldn't worry about any of those. As long as keep my Mac up to date is checked, you will be in good shape. Okay, so I want to quickly go back to the main area of system preferences. And to do that, I can use the back command, which is command left bracket.
Software update, window, toolbar.
All right.
Are currently.
And so now I am back in the main area of system preferences. If I VO left.
Zoom dimmed button.
All right, we have the zoom button.
Toolbar.
And then we have a toolbar. So every app will have, or most every app will have a toolbar. In the toolbar, you have things like back, forward, search, and in system preferences, you have show all. We could interact in the toolbar, but we don't really need to. So if I VO
System
right.
preferences, image, Chanel Allen.
Okay, and then it's showing
Apple ID button.
My Apple ID.
Family share preference panes, scroll area.
Now we are in the preference panes scroll area. So if I interact, and actually I wouldn't need to do this if I was just, I could have pressed tab, which we could actually do that now. But now we're in general. From here, I could press K for keyboard.
Keyboard button.
And if I VO
you are currently on a button. Loading keyboard, window, toolbar.
And then if I VO right.
Keyboard, selected, tab,
We have 5 tabs here. These are 5 categories. So I'm basically showing you how you can change where to go so you can customize what happens with the touch bar and the row of function keys. So if we VO right.
Text, tab, 2 of.
These tabs are different categories. So text has to deal with text replacement.
Shortcuts, tab, 3 of.
Shortcuts, you can create your own shortcuts for certain apps that don't have them, like for certain things in the menu bar.
Input sources tab 4 of
Input
5.
sources has to do
You are
with
currently on tab
external keyboards.
Dictation tab 5 of 5.
And dictation, which we'll talk about next time.
Key repeat. Delay until repeat. 85.7%. 40%. Off. Slow. Fast. Long.
So these are a bunch of options dealing with keyboard, key repeat,
Short.
whatever.
Adjust keyboard brightness in low light. Uncheck. Turn keyboard backlight off at 5 seconds. Of inactive touch bar shows.
Okay,
You are
touch
currently on the
bar
text element.
shows.
App controls. Pop-up button.
All right, I believe, so app controls is
Menu
default.
5.
If I press space or VO space to open the options in here,
Expanded control strip.
I
You are
prefer to
currently on
set it to either the expanded control strip or
F1, F2, etc. keys.
the F1, F2, etc. keys. If it's set to the F1 through F12 keys, and I'll select that by pressing enter,
Closing menu.
then it's a little bit easier to use voiceover commands like VO F8 to bring up the voiceover utility, or VO F1 and F2 to show open apps and windows. So I like having my function keys a little bit easier to press.
Press FN key 2. Do nothing. Pop-up button.
All right, that's
You are
new
currently
in
on a pop-up.
Big Sur. The one you really want is
Press and hold FN key 2.
press and hold FN key to
Show control strip. Pop-up button.
you could have
You
it
are currently
show the control strip. So if you're holding down the FN key and you slide your fingers along that top part, then you will hear things like the brightness and the volume and so forth. So I would recommend playing around with these settings and figuring out what works best for you. Most people are probably going
Use
to
F1, F2, etc.
want to use the keyboard or the external keyboard with function keys. So this
Use
option,
F1, F2, etc. keys as standard function keys on external keyboards unchecked.
when it's unchecked, the F1 through F12 keys will be used for brightness, volume, music playback, and so forth. When it's checked, the F1 through F12 keys will literally be F1 through F12. They will just control software functions like VoiceOver. Then if you hold down the FN key with the F1 through F12 keys, then they turn into their hardware functions. So you can either have
Use F1, F2, etc. keys as standard function keys on external keyboards unchecked.
I'm going to check it.
Checked.
So using them
F1.
as standard function keys literally means F1, F2, and whatever. If it's unchecked, you're using them as hardware keys. And so just play around with that to see how that works for you. Okay, that is all I want to customize here for now. We're going to go more into system preferences later. But now I want to open up VoiceOver Utility for you. And you can do that in a number of ways, but since we customize the behavior of function keys, and so they're the actual F1 through F12, we can just press VO F8 to bring up the VoiceOver Utility. If that option is unchecked, you would actually need to press VO FN F8 or VO Command FN, not Command, VO FN 8 if you're just using the numbers. But anyway, VO F8, and that will bring up the VoiceOver Utility.
Opening VoiceOver Utility. VoiceOver Utility, VoiceOver Utility, window, Utility Categories, table, General.
And there are
Selected.
lots of things in here. We don't have time to customize all of them. It is, okay. I'll just give you a quick overview kind of what's here. So
General.
in general, these are just things for what happens when VoiceOver loads and whether it shows a welcome dialogue. What Donna was talking about earlier is the
Speak the
option
following. Welcome
that
to Maco.
is-
Display welcome keys to use control option.
Let's see.
Powerable setup button. Powerable allow VoiceOver to be controlled with Apple script. Checked. Check.
allow VoiceOver to be controlled with Apple's script. Basically, in order to do things like get the system time or get the number of unread messages, those involved extra things called scripts. And so that box needs to be checked so that VoiceOver can use those scripts. The other important options in here,
Setup button.
if I VO left from that,
Portable control option or caps lock. Keys to use as the VoiceOver modifier.
you can choose the keys to use as the VoiceOver modifier.
Setup
As I
button.
said before, that was control option or caps lock. It's default, so you can use either set of keys. All right. The other options in here,
control keys to display welcome dialog.
actually, if we do VO home
Toolbar.
and then
Your
VO
current
right,
VoiceOver utility categories table. General.
okay, I have general. If I down arrow, notice it said table, but this is actually not a table. It's more like a list. So I can just use down arrow.
Verbosity.
Verbosity, that's basically how much info VoiceOver speaks, when, how, why, all that good stuff. Basically, whether it communicates that information to you and in what form, whether it's speech, whether it's raised pitch, whether it's sounds. We'll explore a couple of those things. But if you want to turn hints off, you would go into verbosity, which we'll do next time.
Speech.
Speech. And here I'll show you where you can download and remove those extra voices.
Navigation.
Navigation, that is dealing with how basically the VoiceOver cursor behaves, particularly when it's in combination with the keyboard or the mouse cursor.
Web.
Web, we'll be exploring that when we get to Safari.
Sound.
Sound. Sound is really important because you can choose where your VoiceOver, what source it comes out of, whether it's your internal speakers or your headset or whatever, and you can have your VoiceOver sound come out of a different device than your other system sounds.
Visuals.
Visuals are basically, they allow a sighted trainer to help somebody who's learning VoiceOver. So I don't really, I just have all those off.
Commanders.
Commanders, here is where you could actually go in and configure what's in your keyboard commander. You could turn commanders on or off. For example, I've created my own commands like the Option key and 1 to decrease my volume, my VoiceOver volume, or Option 2 to increase it. So you can, lots of people have keyboard commanders to open apps, or rather keyboard commands in the keyboard commander. And that's a bit beyond the scope of this course, knowing how to create all those, but it's not that difficult.
Braille.
Braille, you can use your Mac with a Braille display. It's basically plug and play. There's no special drivers. You plug it in with USB and it's set. You put it in its terminal mode. You can also connect a Braille display via Bluetooth.
Activities.
Activities, you can actually define certain sets of VoiceOver behaviors and customizations to either apply in a particular app or just an activity you could turn on, whenever you feel like it. So that's an overview of the VoiceOver utility. And we still yet have not had a chance to actually get into the app chooser to close apps. But basically, if I press VO F1,
VoiceOver Utility, 5 running applications.
It tells me how many apps are running. If I press it again,
Application Chooser menu 5 items.
I can view the list of apps that are open.
System Preferences, VoiceOver Utility, Finder, Safari menu.
So let's say I have Safari open. If I press Enter,
Safari menu 1 item, Start page.
It's always going to show you what windows are open in that app if I press Enter.
Start page, window, toolbar.
And then I can press Command Q. So Command Q quits
VoiceOver
an app.
Utility.
And Command W closes
Activities.
a window. So if I press Command
System
Q.
Preferences, keyboard, window, use F1.
And then in System Preferences, you can actually just close directly. You don't need to look for a save button. Sometimes there's an OK button or whatever when you're actually customizing keyboard settings, or actually there's not even an email account. So most of the time when you're done changing a setting, you can just do Command Q
Zoom us. System dialog.
to get out of it and you're good to go.
Finder.
You can
Find
also navigate between
Zoom meetings.
open apps with Command Tab. So this Zoom meetings I happen to have open. It's a window in my Finder. And we'll talk about Finder windows versus tabs. So basically, I'm just showing you how I do a little bit of housekeeping. I Command Tab between my open apps, and then Command Q to quit an app, Command W to close a window. One thing when you're looking for software updates, and maybe your Mac has told you that you have an update, but you don't see that notification is not, if you VO arrow around, you don't find it. Well, sometimes the Mac places info in what VoiceOver calls system dialogs. And the advantage of using VOF1 is you will find those system dialogs. You won't be able to access those with Command Tab. That just moves between open apps. But any sort of dialogue that is in the middle of an app or just from system preferences or whatever, you can use VOF1 twice and you'll actually be able to view that dialogue. Now we have the notification center, and so sometimes things show up there as well. But I do know I need to end. So
Chanel, ACB.
now that I've thoroughly
Zoom.
confused everyone, are
You are
there any questions?
Chanel,
Yes.
Sylvia.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question about the volume because what you just shared just now went over my head, so
Sure.
I have to listen to that part.
That's
slowly.
fine.
But I did want to ask you about the volume. What is the difference between, or is it the same thing when you were showing us in the first lessons that we just went over earlier, the focus questions in the trackpad when we do the volume control by the
trackpad?
The trackpad, yeah, with the command and the control and the rate, all of that. When we're doing it that way with the volume, how do we? Is it just for VoiceOver volume, or what about the computer volume?
Yes.
I could never raise a computer volume. I don't know how to do that.
Okay, that's where you would use. So on the trackpad, that's the things like the command and the control. Twisting your rotor to the right or the left, that is for the VoiceOver volume. But if you want to adjust the computer volume, you can press VO and the equal sign to increase it, or VO and the minus sign to decrease, or you can use F11 to decrease. And if F11 doesn't work, then I would try F11, depending on how your function keys are set. Mine are set so that I have to press the FN key. Or F12 will increase the volume. F10 actually mutes the sound. But yeah, that will work to adjust your system volume.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Chanel.
Yes.
This is Doc. You just mentioned what the Command Tab does, but there's also
Command accent.
Yes.
I know. I just didn't have time. Normally I go into text edit, open a bunch of windows. I try to give a little bit of context for my for everything. So I will, yes, you can use Command accent if you have several windows open within one app.
Okay. Oh, I just discovered that Control Center, did that come with the Big Sur? Because the Catalina does not have it, or at least it's not showing. Control Center.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I thought I mentioned, I'm sorry, that it's new in Big Sur. Yeah.
This is Herbie.
Yes, Herbie.
So yeah, Doc, two things that Chanel will I don't think you mentioned the other one that is native to Big Sur, but you in Catalina, you will not have the control center or the notification center.
I briefly alluded to the notification center, but I just didn't.
Yeah, because
the other thing I want to mention,
the command is there though.
Oh, in VoiceOver?
Right. Yes.
So what happens when you use it? It just doesn't go anywhere?
It just says that there's no notifications.
The notifications in Catalina is a lot weirder, and it's not. It's a lot more efficient in Big Sur. I know what you're know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I mention one other thing about closing stuff real quick?
Sure.
Sometimes what I have had happen to me in system preferences, like even I'll try to do a command Q and it won't close. And so one thing that you're going to see universally in every apps is if you go to the top of your screen, and if you're going to see like a toolbar, and then if you VO left to a close, there is a manual close button.
Yes, there is.
You can activate. So that is another way to close things. And if apps freeze up, you can close them out with Command Option Escape. That'll bring up a it's the equivalent of
like
the force quit.
Yeah, the force quit.
Thing.
Yep.
The force quit. Yes.
Yep. Very good. And yeah, I didn't, because you can use VO home to jump to what's called, well, the top or whatever, but if you use VO command home, that will also take you to that close button, the very, very first item in that window. Or as Herbie said, you can VO left from the toolbar to get to that close button.
It's Cliff.
Yes, Cliff?
There's a couple things I wanted to mention about the I never remember the thing called the status menu, where you had Time Machine in OneDrive, or not OneDrive, but one Password and stuff. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that some of those things that you actually have to add to there, like the Time Machine is not there by default now. I don't think Bluetooth is either. I think Wi-Fi is, but Bluetooth is not.
No, you have to add that. Yes, you can. You do have to add that. That is true.
This is Daryl with a question.
Yes, Daryl. Uh-huh.
When you say home, I'm not familiar with when you say VO home.
Okay, so that is VOFN left arrow. I'm using an external keyboard, so I actually do have a full-size external keyboard that has the numpad and the 6-pack. So that does have a home. But if you don't have an external keyboard with the home key, you can use FN left arrow for your home. FN up arrow is page up, FN down arrow is page down, and FN right arrow is end.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Were you planning on also mentioning we mentioned the Command W was to close.
Yes, you can do Command Option W. I know. Okay, I'm just overloading these poor people with a whole bunch of stuff, and yes, I know. There's a lot.
Ibiere, hello.
Yes, Ibiere.
Okay, so if you get a calendar notification, how do you get to it? Like to get to see what it's talking about?
You can do VOO. So let's see.
You have started computer.
All right. So if I do VOO, we did VO Shift O for Control Center, but if I do VOO
Notification
for
Center,
Notification
window,
Center,
scroll area.
And I have a scroll area.
Notifications list.
So then I sometimes you can get a little bit more context with VO about an item if you do VO left or VO right and then VO left to kind of get back to it. So if I do VO Shift down arrow.
In notifications, list calendar, tomorrow, first day of Hispanic Heritage Month, tomorrow.
Okay. I didn't know. Yeah. Sometimes the Apple Calendar puts some different holidays and things. So if I want to get into that, then I'd VO Shift down
calendar,
arrow.
Tomorrow, first day of Hispanic Heritage Month, tomorrow. 4
and
items.
Let's say if
calendar.
I VO right.
Tomorrow, first day, tomorrow.
Okay, so that doesn't really, so I could then, what I would need to do here is that extra voiceover actions menu, which is VO command space.
Actions menu, 7 items.
Oh my, okay.
Show menu.
I can show a menu.
Close.
I could close that, which most of the time I'd want to do.
Snooze, automatic.
I can snooze.
Snooze for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Snooze for 15 minutes. Snooze for 30 minutes. Snooze for 1 hour. Snooze for 1 hour.
Okay.
Snooze for snooze. Close.
Yeah. Or
show menu.
We can show the menu.
4 items. Calendar notifications. Deliver quietly.
So you could actually choose if have
tomorrow.
those notifications delivered quietly. or turn off the
Notification
notification,
preferences.
or go into notification preferences. So there's lots
Tomorrow.
of things you can do.
Zoom stop share button.
Okay, now that just took me back to Zoom. So anyway, the main thing is you go to Notification Center with VOO, you interact with the notification area, then you probably interact again with the calendar notification, and then you go from there.
This
So,
is Herbie.
uh-huh.
You do not need to interact with the actual calendar notification once
Okay.
you're on it. You can just do your action menu and go down to clear, close, and some notifications will be labeled differently. So like the calendar is labeled close. Some other apps will say clear.
Clear all or clear yeah.
all. So don't let the terminology confuse you. It's the same thing, just different terms. So.
Yep. All right. Very good. All right. So let's see.
This is Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff.
This is the last thing I wanted to mention. I found this by pure accident. It's amazing what you can learn with keyboard help. And anyway, in system preferences, that show all command, you can actually use command
down arrow.
L. Command L.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
command
there
L
you go.
say show all whatever it is, preferences or whatever.
Excellent. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so you can basically avoid having to do command left bracket. You can just go to command L and there you go. Awesome. I did not know that. All right. So, well, now that everybody is thoroughly overloaded, I hope you have a great week and definitely. Yes?
Yeah, this is Anna, and I don't know if I'm the only one who gets confused, but which is the left and right brackets, and then the equal the.
Oh,
the
sure.
I don't.
So the left bracket is the key to the right of P. So you can even use keyboard help to even go find that. And then left bracket is to the right of P, and then to the right of left bracket is right bracket. And then that other key there, if you go to the far right, that's a backslash. But then so to the right of 0 is the minus key, and then to the right of the minus key is the equals key. And if you hold shift on it, it's the plus key. But
oh, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. All right.
This should count as 2 classes.
I know. I know.
Chanel, this is Elvia.
Yes.
I heard somebody mention something about a command accent or something. Where is the accent key? I never heard of that one.
That is to the left of the number 1. So it is.
That
it's
considered the caret key?
No, it's some people call it the grave or the
Grave accent.
Yeah, grave accent. Yeah.
Right above
Relocated
your
item.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
The caret key usually on some keyboards is the shift of your 7.
Oh, I thought it was shift 6 and caret was shift 7.
You're right.
Or no, and is shift 7,
Yeah,
caret
shift
is shift 6.
6.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, now that all right. I know we do cover a lot. So anyway, keep the questions coming, and Judy did mention a study group for everyone, so hopefully you're able to join her and join us tomorrow night for the Mac Buzz in Clubhouse. And then Herbie does his own on Thursdays, some of the time in Clubhouse. So yeah, there's lots of help, lots of resources available. So I hope everyone has a good evening, and we are done for tonight, and I'll get this recording to you shortly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you. It was really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yep. So I'm gonna have to send you a virtual apple, Miss.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take
Chanel.
care.
Thank you.
Good.
Let's see. Why is this thing?
Okay. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh. All right. Come on. Stop. Okay. Here we go.
The fuzzy. The fuzzies.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.